Nanang slide?
Nakama.
Nana?
Naara, ma'am.
Goods na, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Igna lang ko ha if dili siya mag-move. Kay dili na ko makita sa phone. Dili jud siya mo-move. Okay, the Local Government Code of the Philippines. So the structure and function distinction. So this is a significant provision of RA 7160 or what we call the Local Government Code of 1991. Okay, it has never been amended. Wala pa siya na bago. Still the same. Still the Local Government Code of 1991. So then we're going to discuss also the issues and problems in decentralization with this local government code. Now this is the map of the Philippines. Okay, we have the Cordillera Administrative Region or the CAR. We have Region 1, that's Ilocos Region. Region 2, Cagayan Valley. Region 3, Central Luzon. Region 4A, Calabarzon. Region 4B, that's Mimaropa. Region 5, that's Bicol Region. We also have NCR, or the National Capital Region. Region 6, Western Visayas, Panay. Region 8, Eastern Visayas, Leyte and Samar. Region 7 here, this is the Central Visayas, Cebu. Region 13, Caraga Region. Region 10, Northern Mindanao. Region 12, Central Mindanao. Region 11, Southern Mindanao. ARMM or Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. And Region 9, we have Western Mindanao. So this is the Philippines, the archipelago of the Philippines. We have 16 regions all in all. Now there we have each region also have its own provinces. For Cebu, Region 7, 4 provinces. It consists of 12 cities, 120 municipalities, and over 3,000 barangays. All in all, in the Philippines, we have 80 provinces in total, 122 cities in total, 1,512 municipalities in total, and over 42,000 barangays in total. So yung ano siya kadaghan. Ni-level na siya sa mga kadaghan sa mga ni-take sa architecture board exam na ano siya sa 42s. Okay? So yung ano siya kadaghan. This is the graph of the number of LGUs by level. Okay? Provinces, syempre, dako man siya nga factor. So, gamay ra siya sa graph. That's 80% provinces or 80 provinces, 122 cities, 1512 municipalities, and 42,025 barangays. So, dako gyud ang percentage sa barangays. The number of capital towns, component cities, and independent component cities as of June 30, 2010. So, 11 years na, 10 years. Capital towns is 41%. Independent component cities or ICCs, that's 5%. Component cities or CCs, 84%. And highly urbanized cities are 33%. So as of Section 76, as per Section 76 of the LGC of 1991, Organizational Structure and Staffing Pattern, it says that every local government unit shall design and implement its own organizational structure and staffing pattern, taking into consideration its service requirements and financial capability, subject to the minimum standards and guidelines prescribed by the Civil Service Commission. So this design and implementation of its organizational structure and staffing of the LGU is not based sa national government. Mao na ang role sa local government is first is to have their own staffing and organizational structure because sila man ang nakabalo kung unsa nga mga klase nga mga positions ang needed sa LGU. Okay? Each LGU or local government unit has its own design of implementing organizational structure and staffing pattern. Depende na sa need or sa purpose sa each LGU. But they also have to base this minimum standards based on the guidelines prescribed by the Civil Service Commission. Okay, naa sila ginasunod nga guidelines in making this pattern or staffing pattern and organizational structure. Now, I have here an organizational structure sa tibuok Pilipinas, no, sa national government. I don't know if ni-show na siya. Sa phone ako wala pa. So, ang pinakataas is the President of the Philippines. Okay? Siya ang pinaka-head. Then, ubos sa President of the Philippines are the autonomous regions. Ubos sa autonomous regions, we have the provinces and cities which are independent from a province or HUCs. Then, these HUCs are diretso sa barangays. But if kaning provinces na pa siya component cities and municipalities, dito pa siya moubos sa barangays. Okay? Na magway mga HUC, natawag silang highly urbanized cities because dili na sila connected sa province. Same as Tacloban City. No, sa una, ang address namo, magbutang mi sa address namo is San Jose, Tacloban City, Leyte. Napay Leyte, province of Leyte. But karon, since na implement na nga naging HUC na ang Tacloban pag year 2008 ba to or 11 nakalimot na ko, basta na HUC siya, so dili na may mo gamit og Leyte if magsuwat mi og address because highly urbanized city naman, independent city naman siya, so dili na may gunit sa province. Same also if maggawas og COVID cases ang DOH sa Region 8, no? Dili na mi i-appeal sa province. Nagyoy own count ang Tacloban City sa COVID cases because Tacloban City is a highly urbanized city. So naay mga places na naay Palo Leyte, naay Tan-awan Leyte, but for Tacloban City, it's Tacloban City alone because it is HUC. So kanong uban nga mga places or municipalities under pa na siya sa province. Okay? So that's it. That's the structure of the national government. So moving on, the role of the local government in development. So the local government is also called the governments of the parts of a nation. Its levels vary according to the political pattern and experience of each and every nation, like the Philippines. According to Yumes and Martin, 1969, the state supervised units, which can also be described as infra-sovereign local governments, do not have any aspect of sovereignty. So each of the LGU, no, kung asa man mo na LGU, naatay role in the development of the national government. We support the national government para ang atoang development as a nation as a whole is bugos. Okay, but ang role sa local government is delegated para kanabitaw the stress of the national government sa nation building or development of the building, iyang i-subdivide to the LGUs para ma-delegate ang trabaho. And then ang purpose sana is for us to boom or to develop separately. But then if we all bloom separately, ang gawas ana, we are developing as a country and as a whole. Okay, so that's the role of the LGU. Now, in unitary states like the Philippines, the supervision over local government is done by the national government. So that is true. The UN defines local governments as political subdivisions of a nation or state, or UN 1962. Some authorities refer to them as parts of the government of a nation or state. So this is true no on the first sentence. Syempre, the local governments should be supervised by the national government. Dili na pwede na even though they have their own government, it's a self-government, self-government, na sila control over their government as local government, dili pwede na walay mag-supervise sa ilaha. So the LGU is being supervised by the national government. In case of situations like na ay calamity na out of control na sa local government, like say for example, katong Super Typhoon Yolanda, again here in Tacloban City, no, maula na ako mga examples kay taga dinhiman ko. So example is the Super Typhoon Yolanda. So pag abot sa Super Typhoon Yolanda, actually everything was well prepared, no? The LGU really cooperated with the national government in preparation of the deadly typhoon. Pag-abot ana, daghang mga relief operations, pre-pack reliefs and sundalos were deployed everywhere. Gikan pagani from Manila to sila. No, everything was actually prepared. Naaniabot gani si Mar Rojas dire, katong DILG secretary pa siya. But then, pag-abot sa typhoon, syempre, wala may nahabilin. Like, wala ko naagian sa Baguio because I am the DILG secretary. Wala. Tanan nga naa sa place, tanan nga naa sa Tacloban were affected by the super typhoon. Okay? Because it was a deadly typhoon. Kusog siya kaayo. So, ang nahitabo, the local government of Tacloban was actually paralyzed. Na-paralyzed. Because even the staff of the city of Tacloban were victims themselves. They were actually, some of them were dead, namatay, wala na nakitaan, or wala nakabalik sa trabaho because they have to attend to their families first. Really, the LG of Tacloban that time was really paralyzed. And what they did was, nisulod na ang national government, took over ang national government para tabangan ang people of Tacloban because wala na gyud makaya na sa Tacloban City. Wala man to gimin nga tungod nga weak ang mayor or weak ang staff sa city hall or ana. No, it's a natural calamity. It's a deadly calamity. It's a deadly typhoon na bisag kinsa dili gyud maka surpass, no? It's a test of time gyud. So nisulod ang national government, they took over, then they helped us tindog usab, tindog balik. So that's the role of the national government. They also support the local government. So, moving on, the role of the local government in development. This entails assessment of the resources, the leadership potentials, and administrative capabilities of the different levels of the local government, which would be the basis for determining the powers, functions, and services to be devolved to them. So the local government officials, as earlier mentioned, make political decisions like earmarking revenues for different projects for the public good, and these decisions generally take the form of ordinances. Of course, the local government officials are the ones living with the people kung asa sila nagpuyo. Like, for instance, in Cebu, sila may nakabalo what are the needs and what are the wants of the people kung unsay for the good of the people of Cebu. Syempre, sila ay nakabalo kung unsang ordinances that needs to be implemented. So, they are also policy makers. They do political decisions. So, moving on development, national development is good achieved through an effective partnership between the central and local governments, each one performing a service as an aspect of a function which it can adequately perform. The Local Government Code, or the LGC, devolves to all local units the administration of 5 basic services such as the agriculture, health, social welfare, maintenance of public works and highways, and environmental protection. What this means is that the appointment of persons performing these functions in their local areas is now done by the local chief executives, and their salaries are also paid from local funds. So, because we have these 5 basic services that being catered to the people such as agriculture, health, social welfare, etc., etc., the LGU also is the one assigned to assign other people na mag-lead to this basic services na gi-mention. Okay, and also they are being paid and their salaries are from the local funds. Okay? On revenue generation, local governments are authorized by law to impose certain taxes to support their activities. However, their main source of revenues is the internal revenue tax, which is shared by the national government with them. The code raises their share of these taxes from 20% to 40%. It also modifies the sharing schemes by providing for the following. So 34% to the municipalities, 23% to the cities, and 23% to the provinces, and 20% to the barangays. So this internal revenue tax that is being collected by the government, LGU, is dili lang na solely to the LGU. It is being shared pa to the national government. That's why mupugos na sila no every April you pay your taxes na good. So that's one. Revenue generation, internal revenue allotments or the IRA are also divided according to other criteria. So 50% by population, 25% by area, and 25% in terms of equal sharing. Local units impose the property realty tax and much depends on their assessment and collection efficiency. There are also tax businesses, no commercial businesses. And cities and municipalities impose the amusement tax or what we call the entertainment tax. So mao ni silang tax nga mga sports sa movies, no concerts, and barangay clearance is now needed before permits can be given by the cities and municipalities for businesses. That's why you need to hikay the barangay clearance first before you get permits, before tagaan kag permit to hold business. Okay? Di man good ang revenue generation na to because without revenue generation, without tax, there would be no projects, no walay projects for the people. So diha man good ta makuha sa revenue generation or the internal revenue allotments or IRA. Now, what are the majority features of the RA 7160 or the otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991? So we have here one, Section 17 of LGC, the basic services and facilities. So letter A, local government units shall endeavor to be self-reliant and shall continue exercising the powers and discharging the duties and functions currently vested upon them. They shall also discharge the functions and responsibilities of national agencies and offices devolved to them pursuant to this code. Local government units shall likewise exercise such other powers and discharge such other functions and responsibilities as necessary, appropriate, or incidental to efficient and effective provision of the basic services and facilities enumerated herein. Meaning, the local government shall do everything that they need to do in order to accomplish these programs or these implemented ordinances. They have to do everything for these ordinances to be implemented or kung sa pa may role nila sa ilang kinabuhi as an official sa local government. Okay, they have to do everything. That's why isa to nga issue no pag Yolanda, ang LGU daw is wala daw nangusog para sa safety or welfare sa mga Taclobanon, which is I think that's not true. Okay? The mayor actually did his best to implement safety measures, safety protocols, even reminding the public to evacuate, no, but na magigahi og ulo, wala gyud gi-underestimate ang typhoon. So that isa ka factor nga dagag casualty. Pero as per the efforts of the local government, I think they did very well. They even prepared evacuation centers for the people. Wala pa ang bagyo. So that's one, no? Ang ilang blame is that the LGU did not do their best daw katong katong situation na to. But you know, politics. You know what politics is. So that's it. Now, devolve basic services on health and social services. Number 1, include the implementation of programs and projects on primary health care, maternal and child care, and communicable and non-communicable disease control services. So we have programs for that and projects. Sometimes naapa ni sa mga barangay, no, i-delegate pa ni sa barangay, projects and programs for maternal and child care or health care, mga libreng bakuna system, ginana. So health services, which assess to secondary and tertiary health services, the purchase of medicines, medical supplies, and equipment needed to carry out the services. So natay libre nga mga medicines para sa mga diabetic, high blood, no, sa mga senior. So mo na mga sample sa mga programs na to. Social welfare services, which include programs and projects on child and youth welfare, family and community welfare, women's welfare, welfare of the elderly, and the disabled person. So, mao na ang top priority nato on health and social services. On environmental management, number 3 here is the solid waste disposal system. So each of the LGU, I suppose na natay mga ordinances regarding the segregation of waste disposal. Diba? Naanay mga ordinances. I have shown you one ordinance last meeting. So others, services or facilities related to general hygiene and sanitation, nata implementation of community-based forestry projects, which include integrated social forestry programs and similar projects, and management and control of communal forests. So nata yung mga programs such as clean coastal programs, Pintakasi, na ay mga forest planting, tree planting series, no? Mga some of the projects na inyong mapansin on environmental management. On agriculture, there are inter-barangay irrigation system, water and soil resource utilization and conservation projects, and enforcement of fishery laws in municipal waters, including the conservation of mangroves. So mapansin gyapon nato na anay ubang mga areas which are planted with mangroves as conservation of the place. Nagihapoy mga free ng mga hatag o mga seeds para itanom sa mga balay. I think karong pandemic no daghang agency nga naay free nga itanom para naamoy own na makaon pag pandemic. Daghan man siguro dito sa DNR to daghan manghatag sila free seeds itanom ninyo no in return naanamoy mga own na makaon like naay onion, garlic, yan na. So, nakabalo ko ato last time or last year na nanghatag silang seeds na pwede ninyo itanom. So, example na siya sa mga projects on agriculture. How about on infrastructure? So, maintenance and rehabilitation of the following. So, roads and bridges, very evident. Daghan kayo tag projects and programs in rehabilitation of the roads and bridges. We have school buildings and other facilities for public elementary and secondary schools. We have clinics, health centers, and other health facilities. The small water impounding projects, fish ports, artisan wells, spring development, rainwater collectors and water supply systems, seawalls, dikes, drainage and sewerage and flood control, and also traffic signals and road signs and similar facilities. So kani sila, these are just some of maintenance and rehabilitation which are makita ninyo sa inyong places. Like sa una wala pa mo'y mga traffic signs, wala pa mo'y mga traffic lights, nya karon na ana. So those are some of the projects of the LGU, no? Example ra na sila. How about on tourism? So tourism facilities, no sa naman yung numbering ay. Tourism facilities and other tourist attractions, no ilagi hapon ning implement. Acquisition of equipment such as computers, laboratories, okay? Regulation and supervision of business concessions and security services for such facilities. So I have another example here, no, sa number 3, the regulation and supervision of business concessions. So karong pandemic, it is limited to only 50% capacity on restaurants. Now, here in Tacloban, naadyoy uban nga mga pasaway no mga coffee shop, na mga cool kids, mga dito mag-inom or something. And there is no social distancing. Right now, it is being implemented that 50% capacity lang dapat ang sud sa restaurant, and naagi hapoy social distancing sa mga chairs, dili pwede magsikit, and if you are not eating, you should wear your mask or your face shield. But then, last year, there was this one coffee shop na wala dyan sila nito, oh. Mapuno ilahang coffee shop, walay social distancing ang mga tao, people come and go, they do not care of the 50% capacity, and it reached to the attention of the local government unit. So what they did was, they suspended the franchise of the coffee shop, and gipasara, they have to disinfect the place, Okay, because sa kadagan sa tao na nisulod dito, so gipasara siya. So that's one example of the regulation and supervision of business concessions. Okay, ang local government has the right to close down your business if you are not following their guidelines or their resolutions kung naaman. Another example, pag sinulog year 2000 katupag kang Usmeña pa to time, ambot if nalipay mo ato o wala, pero nato isa ka time nga nasuko si Usmeña, si Mayor Usmeña, because ang mga bar supposedly is dili dapat magpadako og sounds ba siguro to, medyo nakalimot nako, and dapat dili na mag-serve og alcoholic drinks, but then ang bar is open gihapon siya, mga 12 past na siguro, nag-party-party ang mga tao, and Osmeña got very angry, then iya gipasara ang club or bar. I think wala na nakakuwag franchise ang tag-iya. So that's one. Okay, the LGU has the right to regulate such business concessions. Okay? On devolved regulatory functions. So inspection of food products such as meat, fruits, poultry, milk, fish, vegetables, and other foodstuffs. So one example right now is sadly the spread of the African swine flu in pigs. No, here in Leyte, actually the Region 8 is the hotspot for the ASF. So 500 meters, kung na may positive sa ASF, ni jud pat yun ang mga baboy. Luoy kaayo. So within 500 meters, they have to kill the pigs para ma-prevent ang spread sa ASF. So right now, people here in Leyte are not eating so much of pigs or pork because of this recent outbreak of the ASF, and that's one duty also of the LGU to inspect the meat, fruits, etc. No, another food stuff. Also, adoption of quarantine regulations, the enforcement of the National Building Code. Imagine, the LGU also has the regulatory functions in the enforcement of the National Building Code, the regulations of tricycle operations, the regulation of the real estate trade, and the licensing of cockpits. And letter B, it granted the local government units the power to develop their own organizational structure, staffing pattern, and appoint officials wholly paid by the local governments. So natay mga dagdag trabaho for people assigned in different sectors in regulatory functions. Under Section 447 of the LGC of 991, the powers, duties, and functions and compensation. Now, kinsa bang maghimo sa mga ordinances nato sa LGU? So the Sangguniang Bayan, or the Municipal Council in English, as the legislative body of the municipality, shall enact ordinances, okay? Approve resolutions and appropriate funds for the general welfare of the municipality and its inhabitants, pursuant to Section 16 of this code, and in the proper exercise of the corporate powers of the municipality as provided for under Section 22 of this code. Kinsa man ang presiding officer sa Sangguniang Bayan? Kinsa man? Is it the mayor, the vice mayor, or the council? Ha?
Vice Mayor.
Okay, the vice mayor is the presiding officer of the Sangguniang Bayan or the municipal council. Sila ang mag-enact sa ordinances, the approved resolutions, and appropriate funds and such. Okay, it's not the mayor ha, it's the vice mayor. They review all ordinances approved by the Sangguniang Barangay, gikan sa barangay, and executive orders issued by the punong barangay. So determine whether these are written within the scope of the prescribed powers of the Sanggunian and of the punong barangay. These are subject to provisions of this code and determine the positions and salaries, wages, allowances, and other emoluments and benefits of officials and employees paid wholly or mainly from municipal funds. I think na ay gina-push karon, nakita na ko sa Facebook that ang mga kuan daw, punong barangay and the barangay secretary daw must be paid salary grade 10 and 11 or 11, 12 ba to? Kasi moabot sila 27,000 monthly ang punong barangay and barangay secretary. So gina-push na siya. I don't know if tinuod to, pero nakita lang to nako. Chika lang. Okay. Nagyapon ta here, the DILG 1992, the government planning hierarchy. So that's the NEDA. Okay? Under that is the RDC or the Regional Development Council. Wala pa ni mo bang slide? Okay, what is Regional Development Council? Okay, under the NEDA. So RDC is under the NEDA. So Regional Development Council is the highest policy-making body in the region and serves as the counterpart of the NEDA board at the sub-national level. Wala pa ni move, no? Oh, tara na. Okay, the RDC is the primary institution that coordinates and sets direction of all economic and social development efforts. Now, why was RDC or the Regional Development Council created? The RDC was created in an answer to the need for a single regional planning body whose main concern is the overall socio-economic development of the region. Lisod man gud no if the NEDA would implement from them down to the LGU dayon or the barangay dayon. They have to delegate their scope of work first para ma-achieve nato ang economic development good. So from the NEDA board, it's down to the RDC, then down to the provincial or the city, then down to the municipal if from provincial, then to barangay if gikan sa city. Okay? We have to delegate the work para matanggalan tagload and we effectively implement if there are laws or regulations that needs to be implemented. So that's how it works in the government planning hierarchy. Now, the Local Government Code of 1991 provided the policy context for the emergence of entrepreneurial local governments by encouraging LGUs to enter into joint ventures and partnerships with the private sector such as build, operate, transfer arrangement and bond flotation. So, natay mga projects, no, joint venture projects with the private sector to increase our revenues. Okay? Under Section 35 of the LGC, linkages with peoples and non-governmental organization, local. So let me read. Government units may enter into joint ventures and such other cooperative arrangements with peoples and non-governmental organizations to engage in the delivery of certain basic services, capability building and livelihood projects, and to develop local enterprises designed to improve productivity and income, diversify agriculture, spur rural industrialization, promote ecological balance, and enhance the economic and social well-being of the people. Okay, dili magud na siya mahimo that local government alone lang gyud ang mga programs na to. We also have to do partnership with other people and especially the private sector. So sometimes finance, if we have projects, no, sometimes it's called the PPP or the private public partnership. No, some of our dagko nga mga projects ing anaon man na nato para naay mag-finance and at the same time part gyapon ng government of that project. So PPP or the private public partnership. Section 34 of the LGC, government units shall promote the establishment and operation of people's and non-governmental organization to become active partners in the pursuit of local autonomy. So mo na to akong giingon ganiha. Now, the significant provision of RA 760. When the Local Government Code of the Philippines was passed, it was hailed as a giant step towards the increase of autonomy in the country. Okay? Increase of autonomy in the country as per Carino, 1998. Also says here that it is about the transfer of certain powers from national to local levels, increase the financial capacity of local government units, and give greater voice not only to local governments but to the people as well. Why is that? Because dili man pud mahimo that our programs here in the city is national government ang implement. Wala may alamag ang national government sa mga needs and wants sa people sa each cities or provinces. That's why it was a good idea that the local government code was implemented because we can the local government can hear out say tawag ani kanang mga dili man reklamo ng mga issues na to, they hear us out. If there's any suggestions or programs that needs to be implemented, the local government will hear us out. Then sila ang mag-propose sa mga projects for them to implement para po sa mga tao. Okay? When Filipinos actually speak of devolution today, they usually refer to the code, the essence of devolution. So devolution is the transfer or delegation of powers to a lower level. So from national level down to the local level, then to the barangay level. Okay, so devolution of power. Dili kay national level lang, party, national level lang always. Dili. Dapat national level, local, then national level, province, local, and barangay. Dapat nga na, there's delegation of power. Sa maning numbering nila, oy. So democracy and decentralization. Decentralization is the means for increasing democratic strides. It stresses the greater effectiveness of service delivery through a decentralized system, and decentralized powers are utilized for more effective management. It's like you as a person, no? Ikaw ang group leader, naamoy group project. Ikaw ang group leader. Then na-stress na kayo ka unsa man ni uy kadaghan magbuhatonon, maghimo pag presentation, maghimo pag report, mag-post pa kog pictures, mag-print pa kog outputs. For you to unload those stuff, you delegate those works to your group members. That's what the national government is doing to the local government. You delegate the work to the local government to effectively implement those programs and projects for the benefit of the people. Okay? Dili pwede nga, ako may group leader, ako na lang ni tanan, uy, ako na ning kwarta tanan, bahala ng group members na ako, manigas kayo. Ana, dili pwede. Okay? Delegate your work to your subordinates for the betterment of all. Okay, so ing ana, decentralization. Now, there are issues and concerns. Okay, number one is the inadequacy of the internal revenue shares of the local government units to meet the budgetary requirements of the devolved function programs and projects. Well, this is actually true, no? Because dili man tanan na LGU is dagko ang kita yearly. Naay bang LGU nga sakto lang na apo dili makaapas per year, ang result ana is gamay lang silang budget for that specific year or specific say tawag ani specific basta year sa ilahang service, no? Gamay lang sila budget because dili man tanan kaya maka-up like Manila, dili man na same sila sa Davao, dili man same sa Cebu, no? Unsaon naman lang tong uban nga gamay lang sila og kita. Mao na ang atuang problem ron sa vaccines. Okay, sa vaccines. Dili tanan maka-purchase of vaccines worth millions. I-compare nimo sa Quezon City, which is a huge city, dako nga city. So naka-purchase sila og worth 1 billion pesos worth of vaccines. Makati is a big city too. 1 billion worth of vaccines. How about katong ubang city di ay nga gamay lang kita? Basin siguro 50,000 worth of vaccines dili makapalit. No, so mo isa na nga problem here or issue here, the inadequacy of internal revenue shares. So wala pa gani ko nakadungog sa uban city na mag-purchase sila vaccines, no. I think ang nag-work on na lang ani is ang mga private sectors for their employees. And ang naka-nice mong good ana is that the employees actually can take their families or immediate family members to have their vaccine. So murag nga na ang ato ang setup karon because dili makaya sa uban. Another is the continued lack of budgetary support from the national government for the full implementation of devolved tertiary health services. So COVID again, pandemic. So pag boom gid sa COVID, natay uban nga mga regions and cities and municipalities that wala tay facility to track COVID cases. So we have to push pa na here in our region, nag-push pagyud mi ani nga magkuha og testing lab katong RT-PCR para lang naay own RT-PCR ang region, ang DOH Region 8. So murag nahimo to siya nga nagpadungog sila sa social media ang mga medical technologies and medical staff na we need RT-PCR have here in Region 8. Kay lisod na that nagkadaghan ng cases sa Region 8, then we have to submit pa the test to Manila para i-confirm kung pila ng cases sa region. Dili pwede. We have to have our own RT-PCR. And with the help of a party list, himuan gud paagi na magka RT-PCR sa Region 8. So that's one, no, the lack of budgetary support. Another is the interference of national government in personal and fiscal management of local government units, interference, politics, the need to further broaden the tax base of the local government units, and to need to devolve more power functions and programs. So another here is in the Philippine decentralization is a strategy for development and democratization since the 1950s. This trust, however, have shifted over time. Decentralization in the past focused on deconcentration or administrative decentralization. So, decentralization is the delegation of powers to a lower level. But karon ang nahitabo daw is deconcentration. Ang mahitabo is ang decision is naa na lang sa pinakataas, murag wala na say ang naa sa ubos kung unsa ang decision. Kung unsa may i-implement the decision sa taas, wala na dapat maingon pa ang nasa ubos. So murag mao na nahitabo karon, which is dili dapat. If naay own nga decisions ang local government, the national government should pabayaan nila LGU because they know better for the people of their city. Kaya dapat ingana. I don't know what's happening. Okay? Decentralization during the late 80s up to the present focused on devolution or political decentralization, and the government had stepped up its decentralization efforts by emphasizing this devolution. So that's the issues on decentralization. Another is, note din ako gininga. Under the LGC, responsibility sharing and authority sharing, local governments were mandated to supplement or assist in the delivery of these functions, and decentralization changes have been made to pursue development and democratization goals. Also, another issue is the privatization of another area. Privatization is another area of decentralization. It is a policy reform that disposes idle GOCCs. Okay? It's an economic and political benefit to a national government. Now, what are GOCCs or government-owned corporations? We have the BIR, the PhilHealth, DBP, yan na sila example sa GOCCs. Okay? And some of the problems of decentralization include the political dynasty or the elite-dominated politics. So ang lolo naging mayor, then ang anak nag-mayor, then ang apo nag-mayor, then ang kapwa nag-mayor, political dynasty lang nahitabo. And also, it encourages corruption. Okay? So those are some problems of decentralization. Now, our reference for this is the relevance provisions of Local Government Code of 991, 1991, Comparative Study Tour on Local Government Administration and Management, and the Development Academy of the Philippines 2006. So, I'd like to end this discussion on why do we have to know the Local Government Code of the Philippines? Why is it relevant for us architects to know the Local Government Code of 1991? Why should we be involved? Because right now, as you may know, we have RA 9266 kaning gipapaglaban sa mga architects that we are only kita lang ang maka-sign and seal sa architectural plans, and there are so many issues pa concerning RA 9266. But mao nang isa. Ang pag-sign and seal sa architectural plans should be done by the architect alone. And kani siya na issue, actually ang makatabang gyud sa atuan ni is the LGU. Dili tanan LGU sa OBO mag-implement ani. I've only know some or few like the Tarlac and the Baguio. Ambot lang sa Cebu if na-implement na, but definitely here in Tacloban it's not being implemented. That the OBO they allow civil engineers to sign architectural plans Okay? But to those cities I've mentioned, Tarlac and Baguio, they do not allow that civil engineers will sign your architectural plans. Makaingon na lang kag sana all. No, sana all. That's one of the issue concerning LGU sa atoa. Sana, tabangan ta sa LGU na ma-implement ning RA 9266 para solely architectural plans should be signed and sealed by an architect. Okay? So, musugod na sa LGU. So, makasana all na lang ta. I don't know lang if may tabo pa ni soon. Okay? So, that ends our presentation for today. Gihingal gid kog taman. Okay? Padung na 1 hour. Any questions from class? By the way, we will still have our weekly assessment quiz this coming Friday. Okay? So, I hope wala na malate. If makapansin mo, i-open na ko usab ang kuan, ang sa tawagan ni ang quiz. That's because na I late na pod nga ni take. Pero okay lang. Basta valid reason. Okay? So, none so far. We end our discussion here. I hope you learned something this afternoon. And I'll see you guys on your weekly assessment quiz. Goodbye, class. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Salamat ya, ma'am.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Buyers.